Alrighty, well, hello there, everybody in the Twitchverse. I've got myself, Dave Gilardi, and Jeffrey Carpenter, and I'm gonna try not to talk too much because apparently every time I try to talk, I start to cough, and I want to prevent everybody
That's
from having to go through
bad.
that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Man, how long have you had this, man?
I don't know, like the coughing part.
Yeah, really.
Probably.
Let's take care of David.
I gotta do these live
Maybe you should
streams,
go to bed
man.
after this.
I gotta do the live streams.
All right, nice.
You
Uh,
know, I just realized I don't think.
what's up?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. No. Please hold. Sorry.
Are we live? Did we broadcast?
We went. Yeah, we should be. There we go. Okay, that's better. For
Okay,
some reason, an old stream popped up, even though it should have been this one, and now we're good. So, okay,
okay.
totally live. Totally live.
Well, these things happen.
Yeah.
Um, so you talk about the inspiration for this, man. Um, here's what we should do. Killer video. Here we go. So, when Alex, our Russian friend who lives in Germany, as I like to say, um, when he joined up, he took a look at our Docker configuration that we're using to run Killer Video. This is our reference application for learning Apache Cassandra and DataStax Enterprise. So this is our reference application. Go and learn at killervideo.github.io. So it's like a video sharing application, which I'll show you. We'll play around with it in a
YouTube
second.
Lite.
So he got on and had some welcome and valid critiques of how difficult it was to launch the application. He basically had to like pick an implementation language, clone the repo for that language, and then run some start scripts that did some environment configuration stuff. And then finally it would spin things up in Docker, except that you were expected to run the source code for your chosen implementation language in your own, like on your own, like in an IDE.
Right.
So
Right.
this is all kind of a pain in the butt. And like maybe somebody who just wants to try out the application and just see what it is, like maybe that's a little bit too much work for them to get a payoff. So
Yeah.
he has created this project, Killer Video All in One. And it is the bare bones, dead simple, simplest possible environment for running everything that's needed by Killer Video. So Alex did this. Alex, Hades Architect is the handle. Um, and then it actually has like a nice little Kubernetes flavor. I think we've demoed this before on other streams, so I'm not going to rehash
Yeah.
that ground today. We can go look at our YouTube channel for some readouts of that, or some videos of those old streams. But in any case, I was inspired by this, and actually I liked it so much that I was trying to add things to it. And so I don't know if you can see, did I actually do a pull request? Yes, this is okay. Let's talk about this.
Oh yeah, that's
This
the
is
one
so
that I
weird.
went to do, and you guys.
You did a pull request,
Yeah.
David, on my uh,
Metrics collector stuff. Yeah.
Metrics collector.
Yeah.
So we have the ability. We have an integration of Prometheus and Grafana that we're hooking up to our DataStax Enterprise so that you can get metrics off of DSE to show how it's doing. And I was like, oh, this would be a great thing to add into all-in-one.
Yeah.
So this pull request is actually
I
sitting out
thought
here.
so
I don't know
too,
if we
by
should
the
actually go and
way.
withdraw those. And then Alex was like, this is starting to get too complicated. It's supposed to be simple. I
Yeah,
was like,
he
that's
put the
totally
smack
right.
down on it. Yeah.
No, I mean, hey,
In all
opinionate.
fairness.
Oh, wait, like, hey, this one brings changes to the main Docker Compose YAML I would avoid.
Yeah.
This is great. You can read through the conversation here on this all-in-one repo. Okay, cool. Anyway, this is pretty well documented
Yeah.
in this whole PR. I wonder if changes. Can I can I just do this? Can I close the pull request without merging it?
Yeah.
That's what I should do, right?
Yeah, you can close it.
Let's ceremonially do that. Um, we won't delete the branch just yet.
No, leave
We can do
that
that
there. Yeah,
later on.
we need the branch because we haven't merged it. So
Right. Well, we probably won't. So here's what I did. The genesis of this is we had this project called KillrVideo Docker Common. So the way that this worked was there were common Docker scripts that we had, and you can see there's these different variants here. So different flavors of Docker scripts that run different things. So like the basic configuration is in this Docker Compose, YAML, and it runs etcd, registrator. This is all for like service registration. The registrator is something that kind of scans your Docker Compose and registers services in etcd on behalf of the services themselves based on exposed ports and environment variables and that kind of thing. There's some service stuff, DSE itself, and then DSE config. And then the idea was DSE config like loads this is a quick little thing that runs one time and then exits after it creates the schema. So let's see. The idea would be that you would have this combined. So Docker Compose, you can layer on multiple YAML files. So this Docker Common was like something that everyone needed, the infrastructure that everyone needed, and then you could layer on additional things in a project like KillrVideo Java. So this is, if I'm running KillrVideo and I choose to use the Java, or I want to develop on the Java implementation, I clone KillrVideo Java, and then it has underneath the lib directory, it's cloned, or it's kind of like subtree pull, get subtree pull is the technique we use in these other libraries. Yeah. It's a real pain in the butt. It does not happen automatically. It's a manual subtree pull. So you would if you wanted to change the configuration that everyone was using, you'd go change KillrVideo Docker Common, and then do a get subtree pull into all the other repos that leveraged it. This is not real. It's kind of a maintenance headache. So, okay, literally, I'm sorry about the background noise. I don't know if you hear it.
Barely. It's not that bad, actually. I was curious if
It
there was
hasn't
some
been a
action
problem
going on
all
here.
day. No, it's just, of course, like when I start streaming would be the time. So anyway, it is what it is. Okay, incorporates KillrVideo Java, uses get subtree pull to pull in KillrVideo Docker Common, and then it also has its own Docker Compose that it layers in, and that adds in running the web client and the generator that generates source code files and an instance of DataStax Studio. So that's the Java development configuration, layers in these things on top of the base configuration. And then when you're running in your environment, you I haven't run it yet. I don't have an env file. Oh, it must be under Python would be a good example. So I'm going to switch over to the Python service implementation for a second. And the configuration creates this .env file. And then that includes the Docker Common Compose YAML and then the local YAML. So it concatenates those together. So that was the way we have been running things.
Right.
With the associated pain of this get subtree pull for the Docker Common. So I decided to take a different direction. There was actually a lot of goodness in the original Docker Common. So I'm kind of going with this right now, but you I'll talk with you about it, get your opinion on something.
Yeah, okay.
But um, I, my intent is that when this is done, this would be a parallel thing or a peer thing. Like, if someone wants to get started, they will grab the KillrVideo all-in-one, and they will just run the application very simply.
Yeah.
If they want to do more dev stuff and want to experiment with more configurations, they'll actually clone this repo or the future version of this repo. It'll either be called KillrVideo Docker comment, or maybe we'll call it something else. I don't know yet. And then we will stop doing a git subtree pull of KillrVideo Docker comment into the other repos, and then we'll just clone this repo and run. Does that make sense?
Okay, I see what you're doing.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
I had to think about that for a second. Okay.
This is a new standalone thing that you would literally clone and use on your.
And would you clone it into like the same path that exists today within lib? So whatever language variant.
No. So I will not do that anymore. So literally, like, go into KillrVideo Java, and this directory will disappear. I will just take this out.
Okay.
That'll just go away.
Okay.
So we'll not do the git subtree pull anymore.
Okay.
And instead, we'll just have whatever future version of this. So let's look at the README. What I thought is, I have, reflecting some of my old school ways of thinking. Sorry, folks, I got on a roll. I did not like, let me say this, good development practices of write a little, test a little, write a little, test a little. I wrote a lot and haven't tested it yet. So we're going to go through and test some of this stuff today. I wrote this README, and I'm basically going to see if I can try to follow my own instructions here.
Okay. And
then see how it goes. And you and I can talk through some of the configuration options together for this.
Okay.
So, basically, here we go. But do you have any questions for me?
I do, actually, but I wonder if you're going to answer them as you're going through your process, because
well, how about you ask it now, and then if I do plan on talking about it later, we can defer it. Okay. But if not, I'll answer it.
Yeah, that's cool. So if you just clone this into its own, you're cloning this into its own repo and that kind of deal, locally, and it's no longer going to be in the lib directory, then are you linking, like when you want to bring in extra configuration that's supported in KillrVideo Docker Common, how are you linking that to, let's say, the all-in-one part? Like, how are you pathing it? Where before, since it was all subdirectories underneath, the root of where you were working, it was easy to path it over. Are you just going to use relative pathways, or are you just going to literally like copy the needed YAML files over or something and then just put them in the root?
I'm not sure I'm understanding your question, so I'm going to try to explain something, and you tell me if I'm on the right track.
Okay.
So if I was doing Java development work, I would clone the KillrVideo Java or Java v2, whichever. Mm-hmm. Hopefully soon there will be no such thing as Java v2. That's sort of like a transitory problem we have right now. Any case, so I clone the Java repo into the Java services. Then if I wanted to test with this environment, I would run the build, which probably should be modified so that it rebuilds the Docker image for the Java services. Ideally, we would probably want the way that this works. Ideally, you shouldn't be running the code live in your IDE and testing against the environment with everything else in Docker. Like, really, the best way to test it would be with the code running the way it's going to run on the target environment, which is in a Docker container. So we talked about this some with Alex, but the ideal configuration is that make changes to the Java code, and then run a build, which generates a new container,
Hmm. New
and
image.
then the
Okay.
container gets restarted in Docker.
I see. Right. Right. As compared to
And
hooking
then,
it up
yes,
from the IDE.
IDEs
Right.
can attach, you make sure the right port is open so you can attach your IDE's debugger to the Docker container,
Right.
right? So it's 2019. We can do this.
No.
That's the idea. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that wasn't what I was referring to at all.
Shoot.
No, yeah, I wasn't talking about that part. I'm
Wait,
talking
don't
about.
laugh. You're going to start coughing.
Yeah, I know. I'm
I don't
trying.
want to
I
be
have to
responsible.
hold back. It's so funny. Let's take the metrics collector since you started there, right? So we know
Okay.
that to add in the configuration, that is going to be a different YAML that is separate
Yeah.
from the base Docker Compose YAML that we want to chain
Uh-huh.
in or bring in
Uh-huh.
or reference. So
Yeah.
before in the previous configuration, whether you use the .env file or you use the with Docker Compose you can list multiple files. You'd essentially you could tell it, okay, I want you to use this YAML, and this YAML to kind of chain about
Mm-hmm.
configuration. But since those files, the extraneous YAML files were all in lib KillrVideo Docker common, which were subdirectories under the root that you were in, because we had to do the subdirectory pull and
Yep.
all that.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was a no-brainer from the standpoint of knowing where those files were. To just in my .env, I would just say, you know, uh, lib slash KillrVideo Docker colon slash whatever and get to the file. But if you pull them down now into another repo that is outside the directory of the directory you're
Uh-huh.
working in, does that
Mm-hmm.
mean that someone now has to reference to those files outside of the current directory? Is that all it means? Like, how are you
Well,
going to bring in the extra configuration?
what I propose is that if you are running stuff in Docker for development purposes, all of that is happening out of this directory, this KillrVideo Docker common directory. None of it happens in KillrVideo Java.
Oh, I didn't realize you were doing it that way. Oh,
That's the concept of this as it exists right now.
I see now. That makes more sense. So, okay, I think that answers it. I see what you're up to. Okay,
Okay.
cool.
So I've cloned this repo. This is nice and nicely formatted, so we can read the README right here,
Okay.
right? Okay, this repo provides a composable set of Docker Compose scripts. Haha, composable. Get it for the fun. For running KillrVideo in various configurations. So you need to have Docker and Docker Compose installed. There we go. Have that. Check. Experience with Docker is recommended but not required. Okay, I have that. So to run the default configuration uses the Java backend. So I've already done this a little bit earlier. So which prompt was that in?
I don't know.
Oh, it's right here. Docker Compose update. Okay. So I started all that stuff. And you can see where this is all. This is my Kitematic. We don't need to look at any of this output, so I'm not going to try to resize the text. So this is the web UI is running, and it's brought up right here so that you can see that the application is running.
Hey, that guy looks familiar.
Here's the
Whoa, he
distributed data
looks
show from
just like
today.
you. He looks
Me
just
and
like you.
Donnie Roberson. That's Roberson with no T. If you've watched the episode, you'll get the joke. Otherwise, it's not funny. It might not be funny anyway, but that's fine. Okay, so I've started up the default configuration here, and everything is running. The application is working. You can play around with it. You can upload videos. You can watch videos, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? Does all make sense?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I've already basically brought up the web interface. I could also bring up Studio, and in fact, boom, I'm running a copy of DataStax Studio. So I guess what I should show is what did I just start? Can you read this okay?
Yes. Yeah, I can
Is
see
this
just fine.
readable?
Yep.
Okay. So what we had here is the web interface, that web application, which is implemented in Node.js. You notice that we're using a very specific version of it. So this base configuration is pretty much copy pasted from the all-in-one configuration that Alex did.
Right. Right.
And one of the things about the all-in-one configuration is that it actually removes the dependence on etcd and just basically
Yes.
uses well-known names for service locations, which is really fine for our purposes.
Yeah.
So I am emulating what Alex is doing, and I am running using the no etcd kind of version of things.
Okay, good.
Okay, so this is the version of KillrVideo Web that does not use etcd, and the Java backend that does not use etcd, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so we have what was started here is web backend, Java backend, Studio, DataStax Enterprise, 6.7, right? Latest version.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's one actually that we could probably upgrade to.
Probably up to 4 actually at this point.
Oh, is it 4?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I was thinking about something else. Yeah, and we should update to 6.7.4. And then DSE config, our bootstrap container, also a non-etcd dependent version. Okay, so this is all up and running. Oh, and the generator, sample data generator.
Right.
Okay, so this is the base configuration. That's all started and running now.
Okay.
And it's fine and it works. And it basically, that's more or less the equivalent environment that you would get if you just ran all in one.
Okay.
Okay. So customizing the setup. Frequently useful for development and deployment to make changes to this common configuration. And we provide a set of override compose files that operate according to the behaviors described in the Docker documentation. So if you can go here and read about this, I happen to find the way that this is described to be a little bit counterintuitive. Like, share compose configurations between files and projects. That's not actually the only reason. That's a reason, or that is a functionality that is supported by this feature, but the way that we're using it is slightly different.
Okay.
To make it, kind of this composable configuration where I can mix and match different pieces just by swapping into different files. So this is the basic way to do it.
Right.
Docker compose up -d. That starts every -d is just like start all the containers in the background. And then you specify the file name that you're going to use, and you can start listing out the files that you want. The base Docker compose.yaml should come first, and then any other overrides that you want to do after that. So that's literally like the rest of the instructions here are going to be different configurations of adding in other things after this base YAML.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. No, it looks very simple. So if you wanted to use like the metrics collector or something, then you would just essentially concatenate on where you've got highlighted over override files. You would have Docker compose.yaml space Docker compose metrics collector.yaml or whatever you called it, and it would tag on that particular configuration, and then boom, that would do its thing.
Okay, so and in fact we should possibly try that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can also, rather than typing this big fat thing out every time,
right,
you can also define a .env file that lists out the YAML files that you want to use. And I actually showed an example of how that's being used right now in the Java implementation. Or actually, I showed you the Python version. And so here you go. Here's an example. An example env file, which uses the base Docker compose YAML as you're supposed to, and then layers in this override file called docker compose-backend Python. So if you include this on your list of files, then that will replace the Java backend with Python backend. Right? So here are the ones that I have come up with so far. Keep in mind that like it's kind of like last right wins. Hey, kind of like Cassandra, right? So whatever the Docker Compose is laying down one configuration, and then these little override files are just kind of making little changes here and there to things. And the way that this works is really cool. So I like it because I basically I basically like that core file that I just showed you. So all the configurations here are only going to run. I'm like, none of my overrides really override DSE with anything else.
Right. Right. You're only
Every
overriding.
configuration that I have is running on DSE 6.7.
Right.
But I suppose I could create an override file that actually ran a different version.
But only
And then
specifically
that would be
for
very
that.
simple
Right.
to override that and swap that in. That's
Right,
what makes this really cool. So I'm just going to run through these real quick to just tell you what they are, and then we can actually maybe just try out a combination or two and see how these things test out. I know that there are some things that are not totally functional yet, but they're maybe what we do today is get a head start on what works and what doesn't. Okay, so if you decided that you wanted to run this old school and you didn't want to run the services in Docker, you actually literally wanted to write them in your IDE, then this just takes out, if you add in this file, it just takes out a service implementation, like no backend. Okay?
Yep.
Okay. Alternatively, if you want to run the Node.js implementation of the services, you would include this. Docker Compose backend Node.js. If you want to do the Python services instead, again, that's another simple option there. So these are the three options for overrides of different backends.
Okay.
The next set of stuff is Docker Compose DSE external. So this, if I don't want to run DSE in Docker because I have a cluster that's running somewhere else, like maybe, DataStax Constellation, for example, looking down the road when we start running this against our Cassandra as a service, which would be an external cluster running somewhere on the internet, you would use this. And then you would also set this environment variable in your .env file. I'm not sure that all of the I'm not sure if all of the service implementations are set up to correctly interpret this environment variable.
The generator and web and DSE config are.
Yes. And then this, on top of this, I remember we will probably have to come back and make some changes to this later on because I hear that there's this thing called config maps that we need to start using.
Yeah, I'm holding my tongue on that whole part with Kubernetes until you're done, until we get to that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't. That's not even considered yet, and I will need to get there.
Yeah.
I do have one commentary about that, which I will get to when we talk about this very last sentence. Let me keep going through this first. Okay, so Docker Compose DSE metrics. So this turns on all of the metrics collection. So it runs Prometheus and Grafana, and I still have some documentation work to do, obviously. I need to go back and fill that information in because I put a placeholder there. Okay, so there is a to-do that I have there. One bug found already. So this is pretty cool because actually, when you actually need to change some parameters on the DSE container as you're starting it. So this overlay file makes that really easy.
Wait, did you say you do need to change some parameters on DSE?
Yeah, it has to expose a port and an additional port.
That we can do automatically. Are you automatically doing that in the YAML?
No. It's only happening in the overlay. I'll show you that one in a minute.
Okay, because you can do that.
That might be a good example to explain this overlay thing.
Ye- right. Yeah, because when I say in the YAML, I mean the DSC metrics YAML there. You can do what's needed there in that YAML. Matter of fact, the other metrics collector branch that I was trying to pull request that Alex put the
Hmm.
stop on because of the config stuff. I believe we have that baked in there to automatically handle the configuration for the DSE node in the container, so you don't have to do anything there, unless I'm misunderstanding what you were saying.
Okay, we'll go look at it in a minute.
Yeah,
And then we'll find out if we're talking about the same thing or something
right.
different. Okay. Okay. If you include this Docker Compose DSC secure, this actually swaps in some different configuration files. This is actually a little bit harder than I would like it to be, but you actually have to swap in a different DSC YAML,
Yeah.
which has authentication turned on to turn on the authenticator, and then so it's just some different stuff that
Yeah.
has to happen in order to turn on authentication and authorization out of the box. So if you want to run a secure version of KillrVideo with authentication of the services when they talk to DSE, then you would include this override file. There's another. These are all kind of additive. Those first three, where you're swapping out different language implementations, you would generally pick one
Right.
of them. These other things are just kind of, I guess, and then DSE external. If you were going to do DSE external, then the next three would not apply, right? But if you are running DSE, then you can turn on metrics, you can turn on authentication and authorization, and then you can also use volumes, use Docker volumes, so that the Cassandra's data files are stored on your host instead of in the image. So I've done this before where I wanted to be able to restart DSE without losing all my data files. So this allows you to do that, this configuration. And the very last configuration is you wanted to run an instance of Ops Center. Good. This will do that. So the very last bit here to explain is that when you run a Docker Compose and it's going to piecemeal all these different composable config files, the YAMLs together, if you type docker-compose config, then it will spit out what the effective YAML is that describes your whole configuration after applying all the different piece parts and merging it all together.
Oh, so that's the part that ties into Kubernetes then with the all-in-one.
Yes, that is correct. So then we'll script this baby up later on. Like there may be something where it's like, I don't know, we may write a script or something that that regenerates the Kubernetes configuration, I guess, by like running this command, right? Running docker compose config and then piping it to something.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Okay. So it should be pretty easy. We hope. We hope it's easy. So do you have any particular configuration that is compelling to you that you would like to try out?
Let's do the metrics
one?
collector. Yeah, why not?
You want to turn on the metrics collector?
Let's do it.
And you know what, David? That's probably broken. That's a great, excellent choice.
Why is it broken?
Well, because I don't know that I put it all correctly together yet. So
No.
I'm not sure that I have all the files in the correct places. Let's look. All right, so we're gonna swap in metrics, docker compose DSE metrics. So let me show you what this does here. You ready? And actually, this is going to get to the question or the thing that you had a bone of contention with a minute ago. Sorry.
Distraction in the office.
It's really bad. Pros and cons of co-working. Fine. There's more pluses than minuses. Okay, so the Docker Compose. How is my font size in this, by the way?
It's okay. It could be a little bigger, I'm
Oh, I
sure,
go to
but I could.
presentation mode, right?
Yeah,
Go to presentation
it
mode.
wasn't terrible though. I mean, I could read it. I usually yell at you if I
Okay,
can't read.
so
There you go.
this is my base Docker Compose YAML, and it is running DSE, search and graph mode, ports that are exposed so that are accessible, and license that we have to do. Now I need to get, I have to get out of presentation mode. This is the thing, I need to get better at switching. All right,
Get your key commands. Get your key commands. What's the key
Oh,
command?
but there isn't a key command. There's no key
Oh,
command for
what's
this.
with that?
All right. So now I'm going to overlay on the base configuration. I'm also going to expose the metrics port.
Right. And I'm noticing
Does that
that
make
the
sense?
configuration I see here are only those things that are specifically or explicitly needed for Prometheus, Grafana, and the metrics collection. Even though you
That
have
is correct.
a container like DSC up
Right.
there, you don't have to redefine the whole service or anything. You can just define exactly what you need to configure. Yeah.
You got it.
That's cool.
That's exactly
That
right.
is so much
Right.
like what we did before. It did its thing, but we were doing a lot of reconfiguration of things, a lot of rework or crossover configuration, if you will, and that's very hard to maintain
Right.
and confusing and such. This is much cleaner. Yay.
Okay. So the theory of this is exactly that. Overriding only the things that we need. And then
Okay.
the other thing that you need to do is start DSE with an additional config file, which is a Prometheus config file.
Yeah. That's the one I was talking
Okay,
about.
and
by
that
the way.
goes into the image is this.
Yeah.
Into that path. Now, did I, the question is, actually incorporate that into the image?
I see a DSC
Okay,
directory.
so there is a DSE directory, yeah. And there's a
Ooh.
Prometheus.conf. So that part
Ooh.
should work.
Well, let's more it. Is there anything in there?
Oh, yeah. Of course there is.
Yeah, that's what you need. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So this configures the right Prometheus plugin, which is a collectd plugin, which actually writes the metrics out to. Actually, it exposes. That's right. It exposes port 9103 as a place that Prometheus can come and pull the metrics from, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? How that
I
works?
believe so. Yes, it exposes the port.
And that is why we have to expose metrics port 9103. Look at that. It all lines up.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I stole this from the example project for how you can configure Prometheus Grafana. There's more. I'm not going to try to explain these parts. Although I guess I could actually give credit by pointing to the repo where I got this from. Probably makes sense, wouldn't it?
That would be nice. It's a really good idea.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Glad you thought of it. I mean, I sure didn't think of it.
DSE metric. Gosh.
Yep, looks like those guys. Yep.
Got it on the first try. That's actually probably a great. Okay, so then we're running Prometheus and Grafana, and then forget what this is, why that is necessary.
I know that they are. I also forget. I think it needs,
Jeez.
isn't
Okay,
it a referential
I'm
or
blanking at
something?
the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So notice that there's a DSE directory with that stuff referenced. There's a Prometheus directory with some files referenced, and there's Grafana. Um, what I don't know is if I've actually done.
The only one
Have
you
I
really
set
need to
these
worry about is
environment
the TG
variables?
underscore DSC JSON.
Yeah.
Um, but we should be able to use a base config because of the way that Docker is handling the IPs and stuff, the way it's all set up.
Okay. So I have loaded all of these
Yeah, take a look at
files
that
in.
TG dot or TG underscore DSC JSON. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's
That's
okay.
pointing to DSE
And
port
the default
9103.
cluster is test cluster. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's layer this on actually. We're going to make a .env file,
Oh, you're
and
gonna do it that way, huh? Not gonna do your nice the other way above it command line.
um, well, I have a specific reason I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Those guessing metrics. First of all, I want it to be named KillrVideo, right? Um, this is probably going to, because of what I've changed.
We'll find out.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's see what it does. Docker compose config, and then, yep, it looks like it's added in the Grafana and Prometheus. I don't know how it decides what order things get added into. That's what's interesting. It's like, notice that Studio and Web were already in there, but it's like added Grafana and Prometheus to the middle of the list, and I don't know why.
Hmm.
Oh, it's alphabetical order. That's why.
Oh, how funny.
Right. Services, backend, DSE, DC config, generator,
Seems
Grafana,
like it. Yeah.
Prometheus, Studio. It's alpha order, that's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes total sense. So it's notice like our overlaid DSE configuration.
Oh, look at that in the
Very
ports.
nice,
I mean,
right?
yeah, because now it has 9103 in there, and cool.
And again, interesting. Like even it looks like these are also in alphabetical order, the different attributes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So that's apparently just how it does things. Fine, I don't. That's the effective configuration. So, if I already have this running, so what will happen?
Oh, it.
The
I believe it'll restart the containers it needs to, and then start up the new
right,
ones.
right, and it'll probably
There it goes.
just about everything. Okay, so actually, like, I may not have run this with Prometheus and Grafana
It looks like it to me.
since since I got my new laptop, and I'm not going to tell you how long ago.
Oh, haha, I know what that is.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it didn't totally work, right? I need to take the whole thing down, right?
Yeah, I would go for it.
Start
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
I thought I would try just to see what it would look like to work against a running configuration, and now we know it does not work.
um,
Uh, is it already? Am I running another copy from
yeah, you
where?
want to tell that to localhost 9042?
I wonder if I'm already running another copy somewhere. Oh, I so totally am.
Oops.
Okay, where did I do that? Oh, because I was doing something else with open source Cassandra 3.11.
God, who runs multiple Cassandras at the same time? Who does that?
Oh man.
Kill-9.
Okay. It probably still did it though, right?
Yeah, just do a PSEF Cassandra. See if it's running. All right.
Good. I love live coding. So actually, it might have actually worked. So why is this not working?
Here, take it down again. Make sure to do a clean down. And maybe even do a Docker system prune. Just in case there's some weird
That
artifacts.
is really funny.
And then telnet to your local host. I mean, or look for port.
I
See
don't
if you
have
can.
Telnet, do they?
Do you have to audit your new laptop? Well, you should have it on there. Comes with, yeah.
Am I doing this?
You can. I don't do it that way, but that's a way to do it. Wow.
How do you do it?
I just telnet to the IP, get out of telnet, quit, and then telnet space IP space port. I'm sure you could. I mean, oh, you don't look like you're at the command line. You look like you're still in telnet.
Oh,
Quit.
darn
I think
it.
it's quit. Or control C. Yeah. Yeah. Telnet space. There you go. And then space and 9042. Oh, you're still running somewhere.
How is that possible?
Yeah. Something you've got. Ghost Cassandra. How many versions of Cassandra do you have running at once? You know, you mentioned that you were lagging a little bit. Do you have like 5 of them running?
No. I don't know. That's super weird. Why does it think I have one running?
Are you trying to get out of that telnet? Do a
Yeah.
control caret right bracket. So control 6 right bracket. All in one
Oh my
shot.
gosh.
There you go. And then
That's awful.
it even says escape character is, but that command has been around for like 30 years or something. And
I don't like Telnet.
it's always
Why did you
funky
make
to
me
get
do
out of.
this?
Yeah, it's funny.
What is it? Control 6
And right
and
bracket.
then quit. Oh wow, that is awful.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an
Okay.
old key command there. Yeah, you have another one running then.
That doesn't make any sense.
You could do what? A netstat -a grep for 90420 or whatever? Is it?
This is so funny because it didn't complain earlier. When I started up, I literally had this working like um
Do you have, if you do a Docker PS, do you have any containers running at all per chance? Were you in a different directory and when you did your Docker
oh
compose down, Like, were you working
Yeah,
out of something else?
maybe.
That's what it looks like to me. I'm wondering if when you go to do that, right? Because if you're not in the directory of where you were running the artifacts from, that Docker Compose won't have any effect. Does that make sense?
Where was I running it?
That's a great question I have the answer to.
That's got to be it.
Well, you could just kill them. Yeah. No wonder why we weren't seeing it in your PSEF grep. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, without a doubt.
Hmm. Well, that's super funny. I don't know how I managed to do that.
Now do it. Redo the command. Redo the command.
Okay, so I don't want to be in Python. Go bye-bye. Close some of these extraneous command prompts that I don't want anymore. I'll keep the reservation service.
That looks better.
Wow, that was so crazy. Okay,
That's it.
so the Grafana is going to be 3100. Because 3000 is where it is internally, right? This is, and then the external port is
That's why
3100,
it's
where we're exposing
3100.
it.
Yes, it's exactly what that
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
non-standard port because something else is like
Killer
the
video.
web, the KillrVideo web
Yep.
is on 3000, right? Yeah, that's why. Okay, so actually, maybe what if I could start it from? Always semi-friendly to be able to do. Okay, so I noticed that the config container is still running. So we should talk for a minute. Nothing's actually going to be up yet. Or I guess the Grafana might actually be up. It's just not going to have any data in it until it hooks up to DSE and starts reporting, right?
You should have, if you go to home up in the top left-hand corner. Yeah. There you go. The system.
Oh yeah,
node
so it has the
metrics is fun.
dashboards. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
it's going to
just
take a
there's
moment.
no
Right.
There's no data in it because it thinks that's down. And you know what, David? This might not be broken.
I think it's going to work.
Maybe the first thing they were testing is actually going to work.
Yeah. Do the go to the node view one if you would. In the dashboards in the top left-hand corner again.
Goodness, this is not an old man appropriate.
Oh, you have a hard time reading it.
What do I need to go to?
Up in the top left-hand corner, click on a new dashboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to DSC system and node metrics. That one's all pretty. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, it's reporting.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Because this is metrics about the
Yeah.
operating system metrics. So the DSE node might not be totally functional yet, but cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
DSE
admit,
config.
man,
Yep,
like,
yep. The configuration is complete, so that's up.
I've always liked this.
And
Is one of the
then
things I really like about the new setup with CollectD and this.
it's online.
It's very, I mean, it's very responsive. It's almost instant. You don't have to wait for aggregation. None of that. Yeah, yeah, and it's really
We've
easy,
got
right? It
metrics.
was totally easy to get that set up now. That's cool.
I did that celebration before I checked for armpit stains. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I would have
Internet.
told you. You were good. You were sure, weren't you? Haha.
Okay, so we've actually successfully demonstrated that one of my alternate configurations works. This validates the whole proof of concept, David.
Well, okay, so
Uh,
to me, I do like this, by the way. I think this is a marked improvement over what we had before. It's a nice evolution. The real proof of the pudding is going to come when we do that Docker Compose config and we generate the file and we run that against Kubernetes and see it work there. If this
oh
works
man.
where I can just generate, I can just make it, maybe we do that for next stream, Friday. If this works where I can just do that and run it
Yeah.
in Kubernetes, that'll be freaking awesome.
Bro, let's crawl before we rocket ship.
Why? We're right here. It's so close.
Okay, fine, fine.
It's so close.
Um, okay, I just for fun, I feel like I got like 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
Should I just layer in DSC volumes? And what this will do is that it'll cause the DSC container to rerun. It should. Um, but then the data files will be stored in the directory. Like on the local, it'll be stored on my laptop instead of in the container. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at EMD. Command A. Volumes. See what
So
our
Adrian
effective
Hall
config
says
is.
3000, the port where the magic is. He says those new metric screens are
Oh,
nice. And then
I forgot to check my chat. Thank you for checking the chat.
I always check the chat. That's my job. That's the one thing I do
Thank
here.
you.
And
But I
then
forget.
he says, quote, before we rocket ship, quote, end quote. Love that.
Oh, boom. Yes. Collect C or collect D, as the case may be.
Yeah. Whatever you want to
Okay,
call
so
it.
this is my effective configuration. Let's check this thing out. Right, it's got all the right ports, and then it's got volumes.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Should
that
work.
really doesn't like need to be any more complicated than that.
Nope. That is a really nice way to do that.
I'm not taking it down. I'm going to do this.
Yeah, you should be able.
I'm
Well,
going boldly.
well, now
It's going to
that
recreate.
containers are the DSC. It's going to recreate it. Yeah, I was going to say it's too
Going to
much.
recreate
That
it.
kind of change, you have to recreate it.
I know. I think that everything that's talking to DSE through the drivers, they should just recover the connections, I believe. So, oh no, I've said that these other things depend on DSE, so it is going to recreate everything.
Hmm.
And it as it should, it's recreating the DSE config. So because it has to, we are basically starting from zero.
It's still pretty seamless,
The
though.
moral of the story is if you're changing your DSE configuration, everything else is going to restart.
Yeah.
Just about everything depends on it, which is fine. I mean, you would want that to happen.
Yes, that makes sense to me.
Okay, so this should take a second. And then, what it didn't restart was the Grafana and Prometheus.
Which it may not have.
That's
which it
pretty,
may not have needed to. Right. Right.
right.
Those
That's pretty
those
funny.
would be running
So
on their
actually,
own. Yeah.
oh, that's right. So let's look. It says that it's up. That's interesting. Versus it's refreshing every 30 seconds. I don't know how long it's been. I was just talking. I did not mean
Oops.
to do that.
I do that all the time. That the way that UI is set up. Well, DSC might be up. I mean, the collect D configuration
Well,
doesn't take
it's
very
not.
long.
This doesn't look like it's up.
Take a look at the DSC container.
I know, but I'm looking at the DSC config, and so yeah, here we go. Here we go.
I
The
don't think that the
database
collect D
already
stuff
initialized.
needs to wait for 9042. That's interesting.
It's up.
Yeah.
So now let's look. Okay, so I should have a data. Wait a minute.
Oh.
Where did it say it was? I'm going up to DSE here, and it's saying that users.
Oh, users DSC data.
What? Oh, data. Wait a minute. That's not where it should be.
By the way, we are at 5 o'clock, so we're gonna have to shut it down. right, let's see it. Users DSC data. Do you have
Yeah,
it?
there's no DS. So there's something
Interesting.
wrong with that
Oh, something
particular
we need to investigate, it
configuration.
seems. Oh, look at that. Host mapping users DSC data has no effect. Do you see that?
Yeah,
Ha.
yeah, I do.
All right. Investigation for next time.
All right, we found a bug, and that's all
Haha.
we can ask for.
But otherwise,
Then I
that's actually
should.
really good. Yeah.
I made a code change. Did I commit it?
You did. I didn't even see it happen.
I added a
Oh,
comment.
jeez. Oh, yeah. Yeah, commit that one.
Okay.
Commit that one.
Okay.
All righty. Well, it looks like we've already got some things to take a look at next week Friday, next episode with Kubernetes,
Oh, wait a
but it
minute.
looks like we have to investigate the volumes piece as well. See what's going on there.
Typing wrong. Sometimes I flake out on these things. Git commit.
You need to add it, don't you? It's already added.
Oh, I know.
There you go.
All right, let's sign off.
All right. See you, everybody.
All right.